What's it like being a contractor trying to win and then build work when there's stay-at-home orders and emergencies? I mean, what was that like?
I remember that night when, Gavin Newsom shut down everything except all critical jobs and critical infrastructure. And the next morning driving to work and no one was on the road. It was the best thing ever for traffic. I mean, just going through and everything. But, it was a scary time, right? Because we had our operators, didn't know if, they were going to catch COVID from someone or someone else, and we gave everyone wipe down kits and we were working through it.
You did your field meetings standing out 6 feet apart. No construction trailer field meetings, right?
It was the weirdest thing. Like we normally in a tight group, in the morning, and everyone's standing out and like yelling at each other. Like, we're not yelling at you, we're just yelling because everyone's so spread out.
You're describing what I remember as cost reduction incentive. Walk the audience through what is when a contractor is incentivized to reduce costs. Walk me through that.
We go evaluate this and, kind of look at the dirt balance of the job. We go through here, hey, we can go save ourselves some money, save our client money, still end up with the same or better product at the end result. And everybody ends up winning in that situation. Share a little bit of the cost savings with the owner. The contractor can benefit of it in the same way. It's going to decrease the schedule, decrease the amount of time we're out there, and everybody wins.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. This is Between Two Shovels, and this is a podcast where we are talking about the Capital Southeast Connector. You guys are literally the boots on the ground, right? The hard hat is GoodFellow Brothers. You built our White Rock Road Expressway. I call it our proof of concept project because it's really the first expressway segment that we built. Introduce yourselves for our audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you, Derek, for having us here.
Absolutely.
It's great. We've been following you guys, watching this. It's awesome. I love watching this stuff and watching the videos, and it's just great because my son watches it and everyone. But my name's John Hovde. I'm with GoodFellow Brothers. I'm the vice president, and I was happy to be a part of this project. And
Yeah, Josh Nichols. I was the project manager on this project, and thank you for having us.
Absolutely, man. So like I was saying, John, Josh, you guys were really the contractor that built the proof of concept about the Capital Southeast Connector. I would tell people, it might look like this, it might look like that, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't really have an expressway here locally. We didn't have a 4-lane expressway with a dedicated Class 1 bike path. I would talk about it like in other states, and things like that. But for here in the Sacramento region, it was the first time that we could build something and ask the public straight up, well, now that you see it, do you want more of it?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you want more, just give us more money. My biggest regret with White Rock Road was that we only built half of it. Right? Like we had that thing environmentally approved all the way up the hill. Probably would have made a lot more sense to do a lot of blading and grading up that hill, up Empire Ranch. But I wanted to have you guys on so that we kind of go through what it takes to build a major public infrastructure project. And I want to hear from you guys about, your experiences. And let's start with, I think fundamentally what people don't know is when we're putting out a public project, it's a low bid, right? It's competitive for you guys.
Yeah.
Talk about the process of winning the work and how you guys go about your business of getting public infrastructure work.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll jump in. This is a great project. So first of all, GoodFellow, you introduced us, but we're 104 years old now. We started in Wenatchee, Washington. Our first job was actually a roadway, for farmers to bring goods to communities and stuff like that. And now we're in, we're Washington, we're in Nevada, we're in Oregon. We work in all the Hawaiian Islands, and we do projects like this.
That was a good site visit.
Yeah. No, Hawaii, come anytime you're around. But what's nice about it, and I always talk to people, I'm probably at dinner parties and talk more about asphalt and roads, and people don't want to talk about it. I'm like, guys, time is money, right? And a lot of people don't want to invest in infrastructure because they don't feel it's sexy and they don't feel it's exciting. And the reality is time is money. And when you have these trucks or groceries sitting in traffic, who pays for that? We do, right?
Consumer.
Yeah, the consumer. So then if you don't have the roads and the bridges and stuff to get goods and services to where they need to go, then we're paying for everyone to sit in traffic. So it's reality. We pay one way or we pay the other way, right? I mean, people talk about how expensive it is to live in the Bay Area. Well, why? Because you can't move in the Bay Area. You can't get around. And I know you guys are heading it up, and I appreciate it. You're trying to stay ahead of it before we get there. And so, I love it. I'm part of it. They do the work. Do it. But how we're involved in this job, so we heard about it. We heard it come down the pipelines. The engineer was reaching out to us, kind of look at it. Sometimes he was above our office. He'd come down, and remember one moment he came down, man, this thing's over budget. And we just said, it's funny, no one really asked the contractor what. So we gave him some design, issued some things. Hey, do this, do that. He came back, oh, how do you think it is now? I'm like, yeah, it'd probably be around this much. So he says, well, you have to bid it. And we do. And as we laugh sometimes in our industry because it's like you put out these multi-million-dollar jobs, and guess who gets the job? The lowest bid, right?
I know.
But you have to qualify for it. And on this job, we came in within what the engineer's estimate. And I think, we did a good job.
Let me tell you that we were ecstatic with the bids. And I don't know if that was part of your industry back in 2020 and people were aggressive, but the numbers from our end, we were very happy with because, we were nervous about the budget. We were. And, the Capital Southeast Connector, I don't personally think it's a super challenging road, right? There's not a lot of like utilities in it and, things like that. It's it's a pretty simple roadway prism, but the staging, working with existing traffic, we knew that we weren't going to be able to close White Rock. That was never going to be the option. You had to keep traffic open. And so, maybe if you can, was there something about what was happening back in 2020? Because I felt like we were getting really great bids, and can you share a little insight on that, perhaps?
Yeah, so it was definitely a project we were interested in from the start. And, we'd been doing a lot of work in the area for the city of Folsom, right adjacent to where the connector was going to go through. So it was something that we aggressively targeted. We'd taken a look at the plans. We immediately started diving in, how can we break this up? How can we phase this? What can we do to speed up construction, minimize impact to the public?
Yeah.
And, keep the thing on budget. So the biggest piece that we looked at was originally there was, 200,000 plus yards of import was going to be required to raise the profile of the roadway. That was the first thing we looked at. The second thing was the bridge going over Alder Creek was 2 separate spans. Those were originally phased to be built. One would be complete, shift traffic over to that bridge, and then start the next bridge. That one, taking a look at that, we started looking into ideas on being able to build both bridges simultaneously. And essentially that would cut a whole season out of the construction and get people back on the ultimate roadway sooner.
That's a creative solution right there, right? You're looking at construction staging in a way where you can get both things done at the same time, right? I mean, that's got to be a huge cost savings.
Exactly. And in the structural work, the foundation of the bridge takes a significant amount of time. And, drilling the CIDH piles, cure time on the concrete, cure time on the bridge deck. If you can overlap both structures at once, it eliminates a significant amount of time and impact to the public.
Amazing. Okay, but I want to go back to this 2020 though, because I really feel like this is such a unique time in our industry and in our world. What's it like being a contractor trying to win and then build work when there's stay-at-home orders and emergencies? I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, that was interesting. I remember that night when, Gavin Newsom shut down everything except all critical jobs and critical infrastructure. And the next morning driving to work and no one was on the road. It was the best thing ever for traffic. I mean, just going through and everything. But, it was a scary time, right? Because we had our operators didn't know if, they were going to catch COVID from someone or someone else. And we gave everyone wipe down kits and we were working through it. But it's the medical field and construction. I mean, I give it to those guys and the people and the women that just kept coming to work, not knowing what was going to happen right at that time. And that time was scary for a lot of people, but, everybody at GoodFellow, and I know in the industry, we just kept chucking along. And,
You did your field meetings standing out 6
I
feet
know,
apart. No
I know.
construction trailer field meetings.
It was the weirdest thing. Like we normally in a tight group, in the morning and everyone's standing out. I'm like yelling at each other. Like, we're not yelling at you. We're just yelling because everyone's so spread out.
That is so funny.
Yeah, but it was an interesting time. And then at the time, that changed probably Sacramento, as you know. I mean, we had a lot of people going, hey, I'm only going to be on this earth for so long, and I'm going to live where I want to play. And that's closer to the mountains and where I can go skiing during the day and go on Folsom Lake. So we had this infrastructure of people and just moving in day. And right then at the same time, construction just started booming.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I felt like we were fortunate to get the contracts in place at the time. And my story, and I've shared it with others, is that when those emergency declarations were being made, I just said to our engineering team, and just move faster. We got to get this thing out to bid.
Yeah.
We got to, because it was a lot of noise, a lot of uncertainty, and I didn't have a crystal ball, but I knew that like we had to get something out because the uncertainty would eventually just skyrocket prices, and so that was certainly an interesting moment. You talked about the change or the migration of people, right? Going up into the foothills and the suburbs. A big part of this job was interfacing with that development, right? We're talking about thousands of acres south of Highway 50. Folsom is growing in that direction.
Yeah.
I know you guys had some work there. Other contractors had work there. What is talk me through that type of coordination effort when you have home building and all of the infrastructure for homes directly adjacent to an expressway. What does that coordination look like? How did you guys do it?
Well, you talked about the coordination. So it was Folsom Ranch. We were probably doing about 80 to 90% of that work. So it was nice because we were working with the city, coordinating the traffic and when to shut down, and you had new people moving in the home. So when you're doing that, you just have to over communicate, right? We're always sending out press releases. We're putting things up on message boards. And the advantage, though, is I think since we were there, that section of the roadway got built a little bit cheaper because we didn't have to move any equipment in. Guys would come over. I mean, there was times when I was driving around like, I thought I saw that piece of equipment over there 2 hours ago. Now it's working on the JPA,
Amazing.
and it was awesome because that synergy, you have that savings. Now at bid time, we were hoping for that savings. It kind of had to happen. It wasn't, we knew that our equipment was there. We knew our people were there. And also we produced some material. You might not know this, but we were producing some material, some excess material. So we rip wrap, some what they call chink rock, and some other things that help with the JPA. So
What is chink rock?
Well, it's backfill on bedding and also for walls and things like that.
Yeah, it's like a 3 to 6 inch minus
Okay.
rock slope protection type material.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, it was kind of seamless.
Yep.
But you had the advantage of having both the contract for the homes through Folsom Ranch as well as winning the connector JPA work.
Yeah.
You said something like 200,000 cubic yards. Is that what it was of dirt?
Yeah, so the original bid set of plans would have required just over 200,000 yards of import to release the profile on the roadway.
Where are you going to get that? Where did you get that?
That's a good question. So we in collaboration with the JPA, the city of Folsom, and Dock and Engineering, we went back and, hey, let's take another look at this and see what we can do to minimize that import. So we looked at the profile of the roadway, went and evaluated that. Is there some areas where we can lower it in areas with cut, generate some more material, use that in the fill areas, and then ultimately lower that profile still above the floodplain and get everybody what they needed to satisfy the needs there. And we were able to essentially make the job balance within itself.
You're describing what I've remember as cost reduction incentive, right? Is that kind of what you're saying here?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Walk me through, walk the audience through what is when a contractor is incentivized to reduce costs. Walk me through that.
So we go evaluate this and, kind of look at the dirt balance of the job. We go through here, hey, we can go save ourselves some money, save our client money, still end up with the same or better product at the end result. and everybody ends up winning in that situation. Share a little bit of the cost savings with the owner. The contractor can benefit of it in the same way. It's going to decrease the schedule, decrease the amount of time we're out there, and everybody wins.
And is that a 50-50 split?
Typically it is.
Right. So what we're saying here is you are on the ground. You're looking at the plans. You're looking at the engineering design. You have a financial incentive to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
Right. Work with the engineer and the owner. Come up with a proposal. If that proposal is accepted, it saves $1 million. You get $500,000.
That's right.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how it is. And is that typical? Do you do a lot of that?
So what's different with the JPA, and we were talking about this earlier, is that normally when you do a public works job, and I don't want to put them all in the same category, but not everybody's incentive to get done sooner and to get it done cheaper. You have an employee that goes, oh, if the contractor says that he's going to finish 2 months earlier, now I got to go get on another project, and I like this project because it's close to my house. And then they hire a CM firm that, they just want to show how they can beat the contractor up. But we were talking about this earlier. The JPA was completely different. It was about, okay, what is the best for the community? What is the best for the project? And everybody was very incentivized to, like, if we can finish this sooner and we can do it cheaper, let's do it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're going to clip that one up. No, I just...
And the money, as you know, went right back in the project.
Yeah.
In our contract, we were not supposed to do the bike path.
Yep.
And we saved some significant money. Then we built the bike path.
So from my perspective as the owner, we're always looking to do more.
Yeah.
And we had over 5 miles of this project environmentally approved and permitted, and the constraint was the funding. Right. And if I had a $50 million contract, I would have done $50 million worth of work. Right. And so when cost savings comes in, we're implementing that back into the capital asset. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so the example you just gave, when we were developing the design, we thought we had to phase out a bike path. Right. And it was unfortunate because we thought the estimates were going to be high, et cetera, et cetera. And so during construction, to have a cost savings, it's like, oh, awesome. We can add back in things that we were removing or phasing out.
Yeah.
And so that's the type of, I love that.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're trying to build more of the project,
Yeah.
Were there other cost incentives or anything you want to share about or scope changes that you thought maybe came in play that
Yeah,
itself out?
some of the other, not as significant as, eliminating most of the import, but we did work with the JPA on the permanent erosion control solutions there. So originally it was a whole bunch of imported compost with the hydroseed over the top there. Working with some of our partners in the industry in the erosion control side of things, they came up with an alternative solution in a very similar fashion. They came up with a 3-step hydroseed and then some bonded fiber matrix in other areas that would perform just as well at a significantly reduced cost. And that was ultimately accepted in what was installed on the project.
That's great. Yeah. Erosion control and hydroseed, that stuff is always kind of fascinating to me because you're out there with those natural grasses and ranch land, right? Or range land. It's not like it's working ag. Like you're not planting crops out there.
Yeah.
There's fractured rock. How difficult was it? Did you have to do any blasting? How difficult was it to move that dirt?
Yeah, there was a little bit of blasting on the project. I think we ended up at the end of the day around 20,000 cubic yards had to be drilled and shot out there. We did try to minimize the amount that had to actually be drilled and shot by bringing in larger equipment. So we had several, D10s out there trying to rip some of the softer rock so we could move it in a more conventional method.
Is a D10 one of the largest ones?
Yeah, they make a D11, but it's not real. It's more of a mine piece of equipment. They move around, and Josh touches on the blasting. And I think people out there know, like, you can pretty much rip any rock or get through it with equipment, but what happens is you damage the equipment more than it's worth. So then we drill, we load it we shoot it, basically blow it like the old days where you see the guy, hitting the drum and blowing the rock. It's not as exciting as it used to be. I mean, I remember when I did my first shot, I said, okay, I got to do my first shot. And it was up at Blackstone. I go up there, we have this big chute, we have about 40 holes. And the guy's like, all right, where's the plunger? He's like, there's no plunger. It's a little plastic line, a little snap. I mean, it's like, so I'm like, can't you make a plunger and you snap it, And if you do a good blast, you literally see nothing except a little bit of dust. And when you shoot rock in the air and everything, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because I think there were homes out there that were occupied, right? That
Yes.
people were living there.
Yep.
What is the general process for blasting or shooting rock? Kind of walk me through how that happens.
Yeah. So it's actually very scientific. First we design the blast. I mean, we can push material, we can make it go up, we can make it go left, we can make it go right. I mean, all about how we design the blast, about how much powder we put in there, and basically how hard we hit the material. But when there are homes, in a certain radius, and they're, we do bring in and we set seismics. So we set them all around where we're going to do the blast, and they measure that if there's any more movement that's acceptable, right? The earth is always moving and everything a little bit. So we'll put these in. And then if there is a house even closer in that seismic area, we will survey the house. We'll send them a letter saying, hey, can we come and walk on your house? Can we check your pool? Can we check all your concrete? And usually there's never an incident. We've been pretty good at it. I mean, we're, like I said, we're 100 years old. We've been blasting on the Hawaiian Islands. We're blasting next to huge resorts and stuff where people are swimming in pools. And trust me, if we crack those pools, they're not going to be really happy. So
Yeah, it is. It's scientific.
it very is. Yeah, we actually now, all of our drill rigs have GPS. So they're monitoring how deep they're drilling, and then they're monitoring how hard the rock is. And so that's how we build our blast. And then we put it in a 3D model. We do a simulation of how it's going to blast, and then we pull the trigger. I mean, it's a lot more scientific than a lot of people
That's
think.
incredible.
Yeah.
And you're building all that into your bid.
Yeah. It's it comes back into a cubic yard price,
Right.
but I guess based on how it's not as scientific of how we get there. It's really the D10 or the D8 operator saying, I can't get through it anymore. That's it. I mean, it's not like we have any science on when it is, but yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And you're not, so are you saying though that the homeowner's not going to feel it? It's not an earthquake.
No, it's not an earthquake. And if, 1,000+ feet away, they may hear a little noise, but typically they won't feel anything at all.
Snap, 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 snap. Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I like stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And I worked on a project up in El Dorado County, where it's the Red Hawk Parkway interchange, and we had to bring down the mountain through steps. And that was my first exposure to some blasting work. And because it was next to Highway 50, CHP did rolling stops.
Yeah.
Right. We blasted. You call it shooting. I'm just going to call it blasting. Right. And then you just check to make sure there was nothing on the road.
Yep.
Right. And then they opened it back up. And it's like you never would have known that had happened,
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that one up. That was the first job I did out of college when I was with Granite.
Really?
Contractor. Yeah.
Any horror stories there you want to share?
It was actually a pretty successful project.
Wasn't it?
Went really
Oh my God, I was so proud of it. Well, let me tell you, I was a project engineer, and we may have crossed paths.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, I mean, I joke about this. That term resident engineer. I think it's back in the olden days where you literally had to move to a job site. Well, for me in Red Hawk, I was there so often. I was like, yeah, I could be a resident here. I was there all the time for that project. But every time I drive through it, I point out to my kids. I'm like, hey, Daddy did that one. So, but we're talking about the connector. Let's talk a little bit about the paving operation, because, my uncle, he always wants to know about the asphalt, and let's just nerd out on it, right? Like, I mean, what does it take to pave an expressway, modern day, smooth as glass? I mean, you're out there at the very end, making sure it's complete with the profile. Kind of walk through that operation. It's a major operation.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. So I love the paving too. I've been doing the heavy civil world forever, but paving's always icing on the cake. Everyone looks at it, how it rides and everything. But, there's really only maybe 16, 25 paving crews in Northern California, right? So everybody kind of knows everybody, the paving foremen, the paving operators, and it's a hard job, right? You're usually driving to some location just that day, unless you're paving, the JPA like this, where we have multiple days of paving. But typically it's a parking lot. You're showing up at 5 a.m. The foreman's showing you exactly what you're going to pave, and you've never seen the site before, right? And so guys are showing up, and these guys, once that asphalt starts coming, it doesn't stop, right? And it's coming in hot. Usually the days are hot, and there's a lot of moving parts. You have also obviously all the trucks, you have the sweepers, you have the oil rigs in front of them and everything. But the smoothness it's great. I mean, it's got a lot better than it used to in the old days. I mean, now we're running off GPS. We're running off. I mean, I call it the ski. It's sensing in front and sensing in back, and then it's doing math to kind of make it smooth. But really, really key way to make a smooth paving operation is continuous movement. When you're driving down the road and you feel a little bump, that's because the paving crew stopped. It means because the hydraulic line broke. It means that somebody didn't order the right trucks, and you feel that little movement. And there's other ways you can get that little bump, but really, if it's a smooth operation, it tends to come out really smooth. Yeah.
How does that work logistically? I mean, how far in advance are you planning? I mean, we're talking tons and tons of asphalt here. Where are you getting all that?
Yeah, so luckily in this area, we've got a few different quarries to choose from. So there's several good suppliers in the area. That planning does start a long ways out. So there is only a finite amount of resources for that. So you've got to get on the books early, figure out when you're going to pave, make sure you keep that schedule, because you need to have the plant booked, or somebody else may steal that day from it and you won't be doing it. So, and the number of trucks it takes, all of it requires quite a bit of
Do you
planning.
recall how many trucks do you remember what the paving operate? I know it's been years.
Yeah, it's been a little while. So at the top of my head, there was about 55,000 total tons of HMA on this project. I do remember. So, it was a fairly straight, wide open roadway. We had the advantage on this one to leave traffic in its original alignment and go pave out this roadway. The majority of it, we didn't have to deal with traffic. So it was fairly productive paving. So we were paving, 3,000 tons in a shift on an average day. So I'd say we had, 25 to 28 trucks on a typical shift running.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that sounds like a lot. I mean, in terms of 55,000 tons. I mean, it's not an airport runway, right? But it's
still a lot of tons.
substantial.
Significant amount of paving.
Yeah. And when you do does it matter the width? Because you're transferring over to a bike path. Like how does that work in terms of the width of the expressway versus changing and going down to a bike path? How does is the same equipment?
It can be similar equipment. In the terms of the bike path, that one was narrower. It did require a different paver. You just wouldn't have physically been able to fit a larger highway paver on the bike path. So when you're working in a tighter area, more logistical challenges arise. There's no room to get a truck around you, so you have to switch up truck types. So you can make a few turn-ins, and then you actually have to back up the truck to the paver, dump directly in the hopper, and keep going. So there's a few more challenges, but it's just a same operation at a slower pace.
Did you have fun working on the job?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I did. It was an entertaining job to do.
I got to drive by all the time, wave at everyone.
Anything stand out to you? I know it's not that sexy to have just a straight, kind of road, but does anything stand out to you about it?
Well, it's certainly a huge improvement from what was there before. You had, a narrow 2-lane road with a significant amount of traffic, that road terrible. So
Yeah.
going through it in the wintertime, you never knew if you're going to come up over a hill and end up in a giant puddle of water.
Right. Yeah. What about you, John? In terms of kind of zooming out, what is it? When I look at projects like this, and I'm always looking at the end product and saying it was tough to get there, the approvals were tough, or the permits, but at the end, it's like, oh man, I'm so proud of it. What kind of stands out to you about working on the project over those years?
Yeah, there's like 3 things. I mean, one, it's a very public project to be on, right? If you live in Sacramento, you're driving on it, and everyone calls it Grant Line or White Rock. I mean, they call it a different name depending on where you live and what yours is. And then it was neat that I think it was the first time I seen where you've had 3 or 4 different cities get together, different departments get together, and kind of just row in the same direction. So that was really neat for me, like to see that on my side, because I review a lot of contracts. I mean, I came up from a project engineer to project manager to superintendent, but now I just don't see that much, right? It's one department and we're working for one person. So it was really great. I was a little bit nervous when we signed the contract. I'm like, how many people are we working for? But we felt like we were working for one person, and that one person wanted to get the project done, which was great.
Well, I have to give a shout out to Brian Reed. I don't know if he's listening, but he was our City of Folsom representative, and man, that dude knows how to build things.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I second that.
I'm so happy that he was around when, when we were doing it. So he was just fantastic. Okay, so I have a question. It's a little bit of a nuanced thing that we are always dealing with, and it comes down to the traffic poles and the steel. And somebody said to me one time that there's only a few places in the United States that manufacture that stuff. Can you just satisfy my curiosity and tell me, where are you getting traffic poles from? Where's this steel coming from, and how long does it take to get here?
Yeah,
I'm laughing.
I know. Well, we laugh ourselves because we think, man, what is going on? There's really 3 different types of poles you can get. And, the funny thing is the bases are more the same, but they switch the arm that's going across. But, they have to be designed, right? They have to have a certain wind load depending on where they're at in the United States. And so it's almost like they got a market on it, right? Because the first thing we order the project and we all sit in the green sheet, did anyone order the poles? Did anyone order? I mean, it's like the first thing we say. If
It's not really. You have to control. You have to order that early, and like,
it's almost like, is this rigged? What's going on?
where are they coming from? Where are they coming from? They coming from like Pennsylvania or something?
I'm not sure the exact source, but
Yeah.
I think there is
That's the
2
mystery.
or 3 typical sources
Yeah.
throughout the country that they come from.
And and you think about all the poles are the same. It's just different cities use different overhangs and how they hang the lights and stuff. But that's why I think you've been if you're back south, you just see they put the wire and they hang in because they're like, we're not playing your guys' game. We're just gonna do our own.
Yeah. Well, so then it is true, because I have heard that it's like one of the longest lead items in construction.
Yeah, it can be 6 months.
Yeah. Either that or a control panel for a pump station. That's probably right up there.
Yeah.
Or an electrical transformer.
An electrical transformer.
Yeah.
Why is that? I mean, what's happening in the market that is creating that?
I feel like the electrical transformers, what happened in 2020 was the toilet paper roll thing. So at any time, PG&E has to keep so many transformers, or SMUD has to keep on for emergencies because they're constantly popping and you got to change them out. So I feel it was a little bit, they didn't know what the industry was going to do with COVID. So everyone hoarded them.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever bought transformers off one contractor to another contractor. We normally just ordered them.
Right.
And I remember there was a guy in Lodi like, hey, I got 100 in my yard. I was like, oh, that is, dude, you are so cool. You got 100 transformers. I want to be like you, Will you sell them?
Wow. What are some of the other, unique contractor world materials or things that you guys have to deal with? Is there if I'm looking ahead, what's the long lead item other than a traffic pole that I need to really be aware of? Give me some insight.
Yeah. I mean, anything electrical.
Yeah, some underground precast material, depending on time of the year or specific structures, can have a significant lead time.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if I'm looking at my next phase or my next segment of the connector, I mean, what's the lesson learned, if there is one? I mean, give me the insight to how to get a great bid again.
Hire the same people. GoodFellow, Brian, you, we're good.
There you go.
So
Come on, give me some ideas. Like, what is there something super efficient that we should be looking at on an expressway like this? I mean, put on your value engineering hat for a second. Obviously, keeping traffic off alignment is probably the major thing.
yeah, I think, it's kind of, I always tell people in the industry, it's kind of like, the tile. You want to tile a 10 by 10, it almost costs the same if you want to tile 100 by 100. So the more feet you can give people or more square footage, your unit price will go down, because also then if the contractor has a bad day, we have a chance to make it up. And then also, keeping the traffic off us. Because when we're working with traffic, there's a factor, people hitting us, hitting our employees. In our bids, we have to put a different insurance rate when we're, our insurance companies will reach out. Is it live traffic? Is it not live traffic? And then also just, also if you can get some synergy with some other projects that are going on. And there was a big synergy of us doing all the South Folsom.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, the equipment was already there. You start moving in those equipment. Sometimes when we're closing bids, mobilization for our equipment can be up to $500,000 when you're including, the concrete, the asphalt, the underground. I mean, just moving those excavators in and out there, it's very expensive.
I had a gentleman on recently talking about a bridge up in El Dorado County, and he said mobilization required helicopters.
Yeah.
Because they're up there in the canyons, right? So they got a helicopter and equipment.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that. What is mobilization, though?
So that's moving in the big scrapers, the excavators, they'll come on low boy, and depending where they're coming from, it might be 2,000, it might be 10,000, right? And how we work it is the next job has to pay for them. So the job that has it there, they paid for it to get there. If you want it, that next job has to pay for it. So the advantage was most of the equipment was right there. So in our bid, we didn't have a lot of mobilization cost. The other big thing is, I think bridges, if you guys are very open to what type of bridge you build, box bridges and everything. Some are very expensive. And I think people like to use the, $80 to $120 per square foot for bridge. And that gets you really dangerous, because I get a lot of developer. How much per square foot is a bridge? I'm like, I don't like to do that because, you can do a box and then just cover it and put some asphalt over it. What type you want bridge? So I'm not sure how many more phases of bridges you have, but there's a lot of value engineering.
What would be an expensive bridge? And what are you, obviously not a suspension or something. We're not planning that on Grant Line Road, but I think generally we're looking at box girders.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, precast box girders and stuff like that. They usually keep the cost down.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody loves to have the nice bridges, like Folsom, you drive over that. It's a beautiful bridge, right? It has the nice span and everything, but it costs more money.
Yeah, right. Well, gentlemen, final thoughts here. You guys, like I said, you built our proof of concept. We're trying to build more of it, and it's an overwhelming success. I could tell you that. I've driven on it 1,000 times. I love it, and I have a high bar. So. Final thoughts here on the work that you did. What can you share with our audience about being a contractor on the Capital Southeast Connector?
Well, I know I said it before, but I'll echo it again. It was a great partnership. Everybody was on the same page. Let's get something built. And if there's some value engineering, let's do it, right? Unfortunately, right or wrong, in the state, we have some things that are just, Caltrans has their plans for this and this and this. And that's it. You can't really value engineer it. And so the value engineering comes a long ways. And, like I said before, just getting out as much as you possibly can, you'll get better unit prices.
Do more.
Yeah, do more. And I do have a quick story I want to share. You made me think of it. So you're thinking of something funny. I remember driving up one day and we had 3 blades working in the area. The blades are the big motor graders that have the knife that cut it out. And they're really how we measure how much we've done for the day, because we measure how much per square foot. So all these guys have grown up together and they never work on the same jobs, and they're working within 1 square mile, but they're working on separate jobs. So they were racing and betting dollars, and I'm not going to say the dollar amount, but who could get the most square footage. And I'm loving this. I'm like, that's right. Let's go, guys. Can I throw some money in there? And we had one blade guy. He was on the South Connector, kept winning a little bit, but I think he was fudging some of the numbers. But it was good.
One of my favorite expressions, blade and grade.
Yeah. I always say, paint it black and don't look back.
Anything to
not
put up on?
Echoing a little bit on what John said, that was one of the huge difference on this being a public project, is the project team really was receptive to new ideas. Everybody worked in collaboration to ultimately come up with the end goal that was best for everybody on the project. And I think that really made the difference on this one.
Great. Yeah. Hey, well, we're all doing it for the taxpayers at the end of the day. It's public money, public project, and absolute success. So thank you guys so much for being on here.
Thank you.
I know, it's a little strange to kind of reach out and say, come on my podcast. But Thank you again, and it's been really wonderful to talk with you guys, and this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And great.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Hope to do the next one.
Yeah. Well, we might just stay here.
All right. Thank you.